Lee here at Grain-Free Insights. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you like travel stories because that's what I'm going to be giving you today. It's a story about a cruise that I went on some years ago, 5, maybe 6 years ago. And on that cruise, I have serious gluten intolerance. On that cruise, I did get glutened, and that's going to be one of the highlights, if you want to call it that, of this story. But there's also something very miraculous that happened on this cruise that I really want to share with you too. And I have been looking for a way to share it with people for ages, and I think I discovered that this is probably the best place to do it. So I'm not going to mention the name of the cruise line for a couple of reasons. First of all, they did an absolutely outstanding job taking care of me, except for the one incident I'm going to tell you about. It's a cruise line that I love, that I will be going on again and again, I hope. So I don't want to throw any blame at anyone, but I do want to talk a little bit about what it can feel like and look like if something like that happens to you so far away from home in the middle of the ocean, and bingo, you get glutened. But first, I love this story. This is not a gluten story. It does involve my Sjogren's disease a little bit because I had to drink so much water when I was going through this exercise that I'm going to tell you about, that I think I probably should have taken stock out in Perrier. Anyway, I digress. So we're on a cruise with another couple. My husband's cousin and her husband. She's a cousin to me too. I just love them. And the first night on the ship, you know how those, if you've ever been on a cruise, you know how those first nights, they always have kind of a really cool party and they want to bring everybody in. Well, this cruise line really caters to baby boomers. So their first night was an Abba sing-along. Now, I was never a big Abba fan. Sorry for those of you who are. I was never a big Abba fan until I saw Mamma Mia. I saw it live. And after seeing that, I became an instant Abba fan. And ever since, I've always enjoyed listening to the music, dancing along, having a great time. So they announced that there was going to be this big Abba sing-along party. And I was excited. I thought, this is going to be fun. And I asked everybody else if they wanted to go with me. Nobody wanted to go. I was just in one of those moods where I wasn't going to let anything stand in my way. I really wanted to have a great time on this cruise. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go and enjoy it, and all inhibitions, let them go. Enjoy, go with the flow, have a really good time. So I did. I go, and there's a huge like ballroom, and surrounding that ballroom are tons of chairs and a great big like television or movie screen up at the front where they're projecting ABBA songs and scenes from Mamma Mia with the words, and you sing along. There's a DJ hosting the whole thing. Next to me sat down the most delightful couple. I kind of waved at them as they sat down, and they waved back, and things started to go, and they're playing the ABBA music, and I just really got into it. So I'm standing up and I'm singing along and I'm having the greatest time. There's this MC, she's walking around the dance floor and she's going up to people, and sometimes they would flash her face on the screen and she'd hold up a microphone and she'd hold it up to me, and I can't sing. Oh boy, you'd never want to hear me sing. But she'd hold up the microphone and I'd sing into it, singing along, having the greatest time, doing the dance moves. Now, keep in mind, I am not a particularly talented dancer. I'm definitely not a talented singer, but I am very talented in chutzpah, meaning just go for it, get out there, do what you want to do. The next thing I know, I'm looking over to the other side of the room, and the Asian couple that I was sitting next to, they were dancing too. And I kind of stepped back and watched them. And all she's doing is, okay, here she is. All she's doing is stepping back and forth to the music like this. He is standing quite a bit at a distance away from her. And he's like, his arms are flailing. He's doing everything and twirling around and having the greatest time. And it was the oddest experience to see the two of them with her just back and forth, and him practically twirling into a new universe. And it was fun to watch. I kept smiling at them and looking at them. So the party goes on, and as it does, I get up to dance, and the two of them position themselves next to me, one on the right, one on the left. And I think they're starting to do my same dance moves that I'm doing. I wasn't sure because I was just kind of rocking back and forth, and so were they, but they looked exactly like me, which, let me tell you, is not a good look. They looked a lot better than I did. So they're doing the same thing. I thought, are they doing the same thing as me? So I look at them again, and I started to do some other stuff, like some old school, like when I was a kid stuff, like clap your hands and flip your hands and, all that. They started to do the exact same thing. Seriously. So it's like, oh, wow. Anything I did, they would do the exact same thing. So now we're kind of moving out of the Abba phase and into the DJ phase where they're playing more music than just Abba. In the meantime, I am running up to the bar on the dance floor, like every 5 minutes, grabbing a Perrier because I was so thirsty. When you have Sjogren's disease, you get thirsty very easily. It attacks your endocrine system, and anything that produces moisture just kind of gives you a hard time. So lots of water, lots of water, lots of water. And it was fueling me up. Now the DJ starts playing classics. And one of them was well, if you remember John Travolta from Staying Alive, it was Staying Alive. Ha, 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 staying alive, staying alive. So they're doing that, and I'm doing the move, the Travolta move. And they start doing it with me. Now people are starting to watch us. And, you know, at this point, I don't know what happened to me, but I thought, I'm just going to pretend like I'm in a movie and let all of my inhibitions go and not worry about it. No one I know is here. I'm just going to have a good time and go with it. So we're doing all the moves together, and they're following me exactly. Again, they look better than I do. Next thing is the twist. Come on, baby. Let's do the twist. And I'm twisting and I'm doing the thing. They do the exact same thing. Now it's getting like wild and crazy. Then they played New York, New York. Honest to God, true story. So, of course, I became a chorus girl, and I kind of did the dun, 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 kicking my legs up in the air. You would have thought I was a rock cat, and they were doing the same thing. Well, at this point, a lot of time had gone by, and I was really, really thirsty. And the DJ took a break, thank God, because I really needed to take a break too. And so I went over to my chair, I sat down, the Asian couple, well, she came and she sat next to me. He was still out there, he's just having a ball. And I looked at her and I said, "Where are you from?" And she said, "I am Chinese American. He is from China." So forgive me if I needed to take a break. I always get very emotional at this part in the story. She said to me, "I am Chinese American. He is from China. He cannot hear. He cannot speak. This is our first time dancing together." And then I realized that when she was on the dance floor, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, she was showing him the beat. And he was trying his best to dance along with it and to do whatever he needed to do. And for some reason, the two of them decided to take a dance lesson from me, which I am always eternally grateful for because it really changed my life. It was a pivotal, it was a huge moment in my life because I realized that when you just let your inhibitions go and you go with the flow and you just follow your gut and you follow your soul, you don't worry about what anybody thinks. You don't worry about anything other than just providing a good time and love to other people, that miraculous things like that happen. So thank you for letting me share that because I've only been able to share it with a handful of people in my life. And now all of you know it. And it really was a wonderful experience, as was the cruise. We met the couple that we were cruising with are very high-end cruisers. They have whatever color card that is, that means you get everything when you get on the ship. You know, you get all the access to the areas that other people don't have access to. You get special invitations, you get priority seating in the theater. It just goes on and on. You get a butler, you know, the whole bit. We didn't have that cruise, but they did. And there was a captain's table dinner that they were invited to. And because we were cruising with them, the cruise line very generously offered for us to join them at the captain's table dinner, which we did. Now, before this happened, we got to know one of these chefs on the cruise very well. The couple that we were cruising with, they just get to know everyone on the ship, and a lot of times they know them from previous cruises, and they get to talking. And he really joined himself to us and talked to us a lot. He learned that I had to eat gluten-free, and he promised me that there'd be no problems with anything ever, that he'd make sure everything was covered. And he truly did a wonderful job. There were times that we were dining. It could be anything from the buffet, which I usually didn't do back then, but I would sit with everybody else, or one of the restaurants, and he would find us and come and say, "How is everything? Are you happy?" It was wonderful. Then comes the captain's table dinner. Now, it's funny how life works. Sometimes other miracles happen even in the darkest of situations. Believe me, I know this is a first world problem. This is not a dark situation, but the table that we were sat at, it wasn't just one big table. It was a room filled with a number of round tables. And the table where we were asked to sit had the captain in charge of food on the ship. I don't know her official title, forgive me, but she was the big wig in charge of all the food on the ship. So we sat there and we got to talking, and I think we did talk about gluten-free a little bit. I don't remember. But at one point, they'd bring me an appetizer and they put it down in front of me. And they knew, you know, I had talked to them. I had reminded them strictly gluten-free. Even before I went to this dinner, I called and talked to them and said, please make sure that everything I get is really strictly gluten-free because I'm super sensitive. Okay. So they bring me an appetizer and it was delicious. I'm really enjoying it. It had brown rice. I don't remember what else was on it. And so I said, oh, this is really, to one of the servers, I said, this is really good brown rice. And he said, no, that's barley. For those of you who may not know, gluten is wheat, barley, and rye, sometimes oats, but the three biggies are wheat, barley, and rye. And I looked up at him and I said, that's gluten. Oh, I felt bad for him. He took such a step back. He removed it, took off to the kitchen. I tried to sit there with composure. However, other people at the table did overhear it. It would be impossible not to. Within a matter of minutes, I'm having to excuse myself to run across the room to go, of course, to the bathroom. And it turned out that I ended up having to excuse myself from the rest of the dinner because you know, your body explodes if you have gluten intolerance and you get gluten. So, but that's not the end of the story. The end of the story is the total havoc that I created and the disruption that I created with my body exploding. I get back to the cruise cabin I am in the bathroom more than you can even imagine. Flushing, flushing, flushing. I know this is kind of graphic, but you know what? They're just, that's what these types of stories are all about. Excuse me. The next thing I know, I've completely clogged the toilet, which is not good because I still needed to run to the bathroom all the time. So I had to call and ask them to come and repair it right away, to do whatever they needed to do. I figured they'd just plunge it and everything would be fine. And then I kind of went down to one of the lounge areas in the ship where there was a bathroom right there. So I could still run in and out of that bathroom. I didn't have any problems with that bathroom. But when I come back to my room, they had to take the entire wall out outside of my cabin, our cabin, to get into the plumbing because it was just that bad to get all of it drained and all of it fixed. So for those of you who wonder what can happen and if you have gluten intolerance and you get gluten, that's a really good example. In addition, other things happened. I ended up with a lot of sores inside my mouth. Yeah, I just get all kinds of things, brain fog. I also get kind of witchy, you know. My personality changes when I get gluten. It just makes me hard to be around and very micromanagerial and witchy, you know. Put a B in there. That's me. So yeah, that was what happened on this cruise. Now, there is a happy ending. Normally when I get gluten, I'm sick for about a week, and I was, but I was still after a couple of days able to go about on the ship, and I still had a nice time. But the cruise line comped me a huge amount of money. I think it was around $800 to put toward a future cruise, which I took gladly because, like I say, I do love that cruise line, and they always treat me extremely well. Accidents happen. You just learn that accidents happen. And sometimes things just happen for a reason, you know. I don't know that we would have gone on our next cruise if it hadn't been for that cruise credit. I look forward to sharing more stories with you. I hope you'll come back. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe so you don't miss anything. Talk to you again soon. Bye bye.